You wake up in the dead of night to the sound of screaming. The sky isn't black, it's glowing red. The air burns your lungs. Buildings collapse. Families run with children in their arms, flames chasing them like living demons. And at the highest hill overlooking the entire inferno stands the emperor himself. Not terrified, not grieving, but performing, singing, watching his own capital disintegrate. This isn't fiction. This was Nero, the emperor who wanted a new Rome so badly, he let the old one burn to ash, then blamed the innocent to save his throne. Before we dive into the madness behind the man who nearly destroyed an empire, hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear is one of the darkest political games in ancient history. And trust me, the next chapters get even worse. The child who learned power through fear. You don't become Nero overnight. He was shaped, twisted, long before he ever touched the throne. Born Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, Nero entered a world of ambition and poison. His mother, Agrippina, didn't raise him with love. She raised him like a weapon. She manipulated emperors, assassinated rivals, and forced her way into power until she married the Emperor Claudius and positioned her teenage son as heir. Nero learned early that in Rome, family meant nothing. Only power mattered, only survival mattered. Affection, trust, justice, these were luxuries for the weak. By the time he became emperor at 17, Nero wasn't a ruler. He was an unstable storm waiting to explode. The emperor who didn't care for empire. Most Roman emperors wanted expansion, legacy, glory. Nero wanted entertainment. The Senate saw a ruler. He saw a stage. He spent nights drinking with actors and gladiators, forcing nobles to watch his performances and praising himself as a God-sent artist. While generals begged for military reforms, Nero was busy rehearsing poetry. While governors warned of unrest, he was choosing outfits for his next public performance. Rome was collapsing. Nero didn't notice. Or worse, he did and simply didn't care. This obsession with vanity would eventually lead him to make the most catastrophic decision in Roman history. The night Rome turned into hell. The Great Fire of Rome didn't begin with thunder or war or rebels. It began with silence. A quiet crackle behind the shops near the Circus Maximus. A spark, a gust of wind. Wooden structures stacked tightly together, the perfect fuel. The fire moved like a living creature. It leaped from roof to roof. It swallowed markets, temples, warehouses. Within hours, flames were so high, sailors could see them from the sea. And Nero? He wasn't in the city when it started, or so he claimed. By the time he returned, half of Rome was burning. Mothers trapped, children lost, soldiers overwhelmed, statues melting, and entire districts turning into glowing wastelands. But here's the part history tried to bury. Witnesses claimed Nero didn't return to help the people. He returned because he wanted the perfect view. They said he climbed his private tower, wore theatrical robes, grabbed a lyre, and sang about the burning of Troy while Rome burned beneath him. Was it true, or a political lie created by his enemies? You'll see soon. Evidence points in one direction. The first suspicious move. When the flames finally died, 70% of the city was destroyed. People were homeless, starving, hopeless. And while bodies were still being pulled from the rubble, Nero announced his new architectural dream. He wanted to rebuild Rome, but bigger, grander, with more land that conveniently had just been cleared by the fire. Coincidence or design? This is where Nero's madness becomes unmistakable and where the story takes a brutal turn. The cover-up, Nero needed a monster to blame. When Rome stopped burning, people were furious. They wanted answers. They wanted justice. And their eyes turned toward one man, the emperor who watched the fire like a spectacle. Nero felt the pressure. He felt the whispers. He saw the anger rising like smoke. So he did what every cowardly ruler does when cornered. He searched for an enemy he could sacrifice. Someone powerless, someone already hated, someone the public wouldn't protect. And he found them. A small, obscure religious group. The early Christians. People barely understood who they were. Their rituals were private, their beliefs strange to Romans, their numbers small. They were perfect targets. Nero didn't accuse them. He declared them guilty, publicly, formally, and violently. With one announcement, the emperor shifted the rage of an entire city onto a minority that had no way to fight back. It was political brilliance and moral insanity. The sanctioned slaughter begins the persecution. Nero launched wasn't punishment, it was a performance. Christians were dragged from homes, tortured in the streets, thrown to dogs in the arena, burned alive at night to light Nero's private gardens. That part isn't metaphor. He literally used human beings as torches, covering them in oil, tying them to stakes, and setting them on fire while he walked among them wearing theatrical costumes. Today's soldiers see brutality on the battlefield. But this was horror engineered for entertainment. This was cruelty designed to distract Rome from the truth. Their emperor had let the capital burn, and now he was burning its people to hide it. The grand rebuilding, Nero's golden obsession. While citizens were starving, Nero was busy drawing architectural blueprints for his empire of self-worship. The crown jewel, the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. A palace so enormous it made every previous emperor look like a tenant living in a rented room. Gardens longer than stadiums, artificial lakes, rooms covered in jewels, dining halls with ceilings that rotated and dropped petals on guests, hallways painted with gold leaf, and a colossal statue of Nero at the entrance, towering over anyone who dared approach. To build it, he needed land, a lot of land. Land that had been mysteriously cleared by the fire. You see the pattern now. Rome suffered. Nero expanded. This wasn't madness alone. It was strategy. Twisted, cold, intentional. The paranoia, Nero starts killing his own circle. Once you blame others for your crimes, you start seeing enemies everywhere. Nero began purging anyone he suspected of betrayal, senators, generals, advisors, friends, even family. The most shocking? His own mother, Agrippina, the same woman who put him on the throne, the same mother who shaped his rise to power. Nero tried to kill her with a collapsing boat. When she survived, he sent assassins. When she begged him to strike her womb, the place that produced such a monster, Nero ignored her last request. Her murder was a turning point. After that, Nero stopped pretending to be emperor. He became something else altogether. A tyrant who saw betrayal in every shadow. The Senate begins to turn as Rome struggled to rebuild. Nero's theatrics became intolerable. He ignored the starving masses and spent his time performing songs on stage, forcing noblemen to sit through hours of terrible poetry while they feared for their lives. Whispers spread, conspiracies grew. The Senate realized something dangerous. If they didn't remove Nero, Nero would eventually remove them. But Rome was not ready for the chaos that would come next. Because when a paranoid emperor realizes people want him gone, he doesn't beg for forgiveness. He fights, he crushes, he burns every last trace of loyalty. And Nero was about to unleash his final, most desperate wave of destruction. The empire loses patience. Rebellion ignites. By the time Nero finished blaming Christians and building his golden palace, Rome was done with him. Whispers turned into arguments. Arguments turned into meetings. Meetings turned into plots. The first major conspiracy, the Pisonian plot, nearly killed him. When Nero discovered it, he didn't investigate. He executed. Dozens of senators, nobles, and even poets were forced to take their own lives. For Nero, killing wasn't punishment anymore. It was routine maintenance. But paranoia always backfires. Instead of stopping rebellion, Nero accelerated it. Governors in the provinces saw his instability. Generals lost faith. Commanders asked themselves a dangerous question. Why die for a madman? The turning point came from Gaul, where Governor Vindex rebelled. His message spread like wildfire. Nero has destroyed Rome. Nero has destroyed its people. Nero must be removed. Other generals hesitated. Then one, Galba, stepped forward and declared himself emperor. Nero laughed at first, then panicked. For the first time in his life, he realized Rome no longer feared him. The moment every tyrant faces Nero woke up one morning and found a horrifying truth. His guards were gone. His advisors were gone. His palace staff had deserted him. Only silence remained. The Senate had declared him a public enemy. The ultimate humiliation for a Roman emperor. The man who burned Rome, the man who executed thousands, the man who wrapped himself in gold, was suddenly alone, shaking, begging for someone, anyone, to protect him. There was no army, no loyal commander, no mother to manipulate, no one left to blame. The emperor who once forced citizens to watch him perform on stage was now hiding like a criminal, terrified of being captured, dragged into the Forum, and beaten to death by the very people he once ruled. And that's exactly what the Senate had planned. The final hours of a mad emperor, Nero fled the city with only 3 companions, running through the outskirts of Rome like a fugitive. He hid in a villa. He begged for help. He dug a shallow grave with his own hands. He sobbed, asking again and again, "Is this what happens to an artist like me?" Even in his final moments, he thought of himself as a performer, not a ruler. As the sound of approaching horsemen grew closer, Nero realized he had 2 choices: be captured or end it himself. But the mad emperor, who ordered countless executions, didn't even have the courage to die alone. Trembling, unable to hold the blade steady, he forced a servant to help him push the dagger into his own throat. His last words were pathetic, delusional, and painfully fitting. "What an artist the world loses in me. Not what a leader, not what an emperor, not what a man." He died clinging to the fantasy he created, a fantasy that burned Rome to the ground, the ashes of a dynasty. With Nero's death, the Julio-Claudian dynasty ended. Rome celebrated, but the damage was done. The scars of the fire, the purges, the paranoia, they lasted for generations. Nero didn't just destroy buildings. He destroyed trust. He destroyed stability. He destroyed the belief that emperors were chosen by destiny. He proved something darker. One unstable man with absolute power can set an entire empire on fire. If you want more stories Rome tried to hide, more rulers who crossed the line between power and insanity, more empires that collapsed under the weight of their own darkness, subscribe, turn on notifications, and step into the shadows of history, where power reveals the monsters hiding behind the crown, because the next emperor we uncover might be even worse than Nero.